A lot of times we get asked about, what about a roof over? Or what about installing a second layer of shingles? While it's permissible by code, adding a second layer to your roof may not always be the best choice. There's a few reasons. One is the added weight to the structure of your home. If you think about the thousands of pounds of roofing products that are installed in a roof, that can really take its toll on the structure of your home. Also, if there's any underlying issues, if you've been experiencing leaks or any problems with your existing roof, if we install a new layer of shingles over the top of that, we're trapping those issues in there and they're never getting addressed, which is going to cause that second layer of roofing to fail prematurely. The third reason that a roofing layover is a bad idea is the life expectancy of that second layer of shingles is never as high as a new roof. So it's cheaper up front, however, the longevity is just not there, and it's a pay me now or pay me later kind of a scenario. 9 times out of 10, if we get a call for a roof leak, it's around the chimney. You've probably had a family member who's had an issue with their chimney leaking. It's very, very common. The reason chimneys are oftentimes a weak point is because the flashing has not been installed correctly. There's so many chimneys out there where you see this metal alongside the chimney and tar everywhere around it. That is not a correct method for installing chimney flashing. That tar will break down, it fails over time as it dries out or cracks, and oftentimes develops a leak. And so the correct method to flash a chimney is to install what's called step flashing alongside the chimney. So if we have a masonry type chimney made of stone or brick or block, and we install these step cards or step flashing that we talked about alongside that chimney, the chimney still isn't completely watertight. And the way people took care of that in the past is they would smear a bunch of tar all over the metal. So since 2015, it's been part of the builder's code that counter flashing has to be installed. And counter flashing is just a simple L-shaped piece of metal that's installed over the top of the step flashing. We accomplish this by taking a grinder and grinding a groove into the masonry on the chimney and making an L-shaped piece of metal that will slide into that groove. And what that does is that L-shaped piece of metal caps the top of that step flashing, not allowing water to enter behind it. And that tiny groove gives us the ability to seal that with a high quality sealant. Another critical point that we see done incorrectly oftentimes with chimneys is if you imagine a big chimney, 4 or 6 feet wide, and you see the roof line running down to the chimney, all that water runs to the back of the chimney and pools up back there, and that's often another failure that we see on chimneys, and it causes them to leak. By code, if a chimney is more than 24 inches wide, it has to have what's called a cricket installed behind it. So we have this mock cricket to kind of show you what this looks like. So the cricket goes behind the chimney, creating a small valley to divert the water on either side of the chimney. And one of the major things that we see that is done incorrectly so many times with roofing is the shingles are installed incorrectly. So dimensional shingles are supposed to be installed no matter what the brand. They're supposed to be installed in a stair step. We take and start with a whole shingle, and we cut off 6 inches from the next shingle and make a stair step that's staggered 6 inches. What many installers we've seen do incorrectly is they install the shingles in a racking fashion. Now the older style shingles called 3 tabs were supposed to be installed this way. However, dimensional shingles are not. And we see failures in roofs many times because shingles have been installed this way. And what racking means is one row of shingles is installed, then the next row is offset by 50%, and then the row after that is lined up with the first row again. There is a small space between the shingles where they line up that will allow water to enter behind the row of shingles below it. And oftentimes this problem isn't noted right away, however it causes problems farther down the road. One of the biggest mistakes we typically see in regards to ventilation of a roofing system is mixing and matching too many kinds of ventilation systems. Sometimes we'll see where there's soffit vents, ridge vent, what we call turtle vents, along with a turbine, gable vents, and anything else you can imagine. So mixing and matching too many kinds of ventilation systems stops that ventilation process from happening correctly because they start to conflict each other, and air will sit in pockets in the attic space and circulate rather than escaping out the peak. The ridge vent is our ventilation type of choice. You think of the air entering at the eave and then exiting out the peak. If you ever have any questions about a roofing system or a roofing process, or you have a leak and you need that addressed, feel free to give us a call.